In this video, we're going to go through Chapter 6, Tutorial 2. You're going to see the figure there on page 616, and we're going to go ahead and walk through the steps of this. So we're going to start with the base section. You'll see in the front view that's given to you there, it is 60 wide, and you'll take that and go out 100, and it's got a little chamfer there, 45-degree angle. So we're going to start with that and move our way forward. So we're going to start a new part and make sure that we change our units to millimeters, grams, and seconds, and I've done that here. So I want to go ahead and end up with the part that's there. I'm going to draw on, let's see, which plane should I draw? On the front plane. That's where we'll sketch first. So if you look and take a look at the figure that it tells us to sketch, I'm going to go ahead and get that initial sketch drawn. 60 wide, so I need to zoom out here a little bit so I'm getting things at the correct scale. Alright, so go ahead and get that drawn and get it close. It doesn't have to be perfect, remember. Just needs to be close. Okay, so I've got a strange little sketch here. I'm going to go ahead and add my relations. So I added some equals relations between those two lines, and the length of those two lines are now equal. And the next thing we'll do is go in and add my dimension. So notice that I've added my relations in right here, and now I have a fully defined sketch. So notice that those go to that point. It's a little bit different than things maybe we've done in the past. So now I need to go ahead and take this, exit my sketch, and do an extrude boss base. With that feature, I want it to go back away from me. And if you pay attention to your right side view of the drawing that was given to you, that needs to extrude a 100 millimeters. Okay, so there we go. We've got our first feature completed. So the next part and piece that the book tackles is the angle that's kind of sliced off here at the front. So there's a lot of different ways that you can look at that. The easiest way to me is to take it and we're going to do a cut extrude operation. So we need to kind of draw in a triangle right here and then take it across. So I want to put a sketch right here on this face. So I'm going to select the face here, and I'm going to choose to make a new sketch on that face. So I'm going to make a sketch there. It doesn't automatically flip around so that I can see it. So I'm going to change my view here, and I'm going to draw in my triangle. And again, make sure you use your hover and get things to snap and attach there. So I'm going to draw myself a little triangle, and then I need to give it some dimensions. So we know from there is 30, and I believe it's 30 in the other direction as well. So from here to that edge is also 30. And it turns black. It's totally locked down. I'm going to exit my sketch. Zoom over here a little bit so you can see that a little better. This time I'm going to do an extruded cut. And it went ahead and found it for me. And I'm going to tell it to cut through all. So it's going to get rid of all of that for me. There we go. Okay, so you can kind of see it's starting to come together. Next we're going to move on to the third feature, and I'm on page 619, creating the third feature. So the next piece that we're going to cut is kind of that U-shaped piece that kind of gets cut in through here. So we need to be able to draw our sketch and kind of cut it back this way into the piece. So our sketch is going to reside right here. So if I click on that surface and choose sketch, and then I can change my orientation so I'm looking at it like that from the front, I'm going to go ahead and draw in that U shape. So it starts up here at the top, it comes down, there's a U in there. So again, may draw some things and then go back and delete them, and that's totally perfectly acceptable. And let's see, I'm lazy, so I'm going to draw in a circle, and we'll change it up here in just a second by adding our relations and our dimensions. But however you want to do it is fine. You can click and drag and move these parts and pieces around, go ahead and add your relations and add your dimensions to that piece. So I've added relations to this, so you can see I've got an equals relation between those two, and then I have a tangent relation there and one there, and I also have a straight horizontal line up here that connects those, so I have a piece that goes all the way around. So then the next part of this is I need to add some dimensions to it, so I'll go ahead and do that next. So now you can see I've got my radius 10 added to that, but it's still blue. Why is it blue? Because this center point here, if you look at your front and your right side views and where those hidden lines show, this is actually needs to be snapped to the midpoint. So see there in yellow the midpoint shows up? It needs to snap to the midpoint of where that 45-degree angle goes back. So if I move this up and I snap to the midpoint, now you'll notice I'm totally fully constrained. So if I exit my sketch, so now what I need to do, see how that sketch lives out there on that plane? I need to do an extruded cut, and it's going to find that piece, and now we need to see how far back that piece goes. Well, how far back does it go? Does it go all the way through like we're showing right now? Does it go back a particular distance? We need to figure that out. So we've got to look at our drawing to see that it goes back a distance of 30. But because of our design intent, we can actually, instead of having to type in 30, we can say that it goes back up to vertex. Okay, so we can choose that it goes so far back until it hits what? Until it hits that edge right there, because that's really our 30, right? Remember that right there? So it gives you a little preview there so you can see what it looks like. So it's going to go up to vertex, and then we're going to click there and go ahead and select that, and you'll see now it has cut it out until it reached back to that vertex. Alright, so the fourth feature we're going to work on is this little U shape that gets cut out back here along that edge. So if you look on page 620, creating the fourth feature, that's the one we're going to do next. So I'm going to do a sketch on this plane, and it's a little arc, so I can do a 3-point arc, get rid of that. The center point of that arc goes like this. There we go, and its dimension is, let's see, the size of that arc is diameter 20. So that's radius. If its diameter is 20, the radius is going to be 10, and it lives from this edge to there, a distance of 15 away. So you'll notice it's not perfect, and the reason it's not black is because the center of this arc is still movable. I can still change the center point. See that? The center point's being adjusted. So if I click on the center point, it won't let me bring it all the way up. So this is one of those examples where I can choose to make the dimension 0. So I can force that dimension right there to be equal to 0, and now it is a fully defined sketch. So I can exit my sketch, and this is going to be an extruded cut, and it's going to go all the way through. So, oops, did that. Click the wrong buttons there. Let's try it again. Do an extruded cut right there. And I'm going to say through all, only in that direction right there, and it's going to get rid of it. Let's see. Oh, it just took that piece. What am I doing wrong? Let's see. Ah, I know why it doesn't like it. It's because I just drew the arc part. I need to go back in and edit that sketch and put in this connection piece right there. Now, if I tell it to go and extrude cut that piece, it should, there we go, yeah, it should just cut that, there we go, and leave that part in there. So that was my fault. I didn't draw that horizontal line up at the top to give me a shape that went all the way around. So the next piece we're going to work on is the fifth feature, this little U-shaped piece that comes up through there, through the midplane. So if I look where my right plane is, if I hover it, you'll see it's all the way over there. Well, what I need is a plane that sits in the middle that's parallel to that right plane. So this time I need to go in and add some reference geometry. So if I choose reference geometry, plane, I can select this one right here. And then I can go over and select this one right there, and you'll see that it's pretty smart. And it has popped in there in blue a mid-plane feature. So it took and gave me a halfway point between those two sides, which is what I wanted. So now you'll see I have a new plane, and it's called plane 1, and it resides over here on the left. So now I can pop in my sketch for plane 1. So if I just come over here to plane 1 and choose to sketch, now I can sketch on that. So I'm going to go ahead and look normal to that plane, and again we're going right up here in this area, and we're going to add that U-shaped curve that exists up here. I'm going to go ahead and put that in. So I'm going to draw circles because I'm lazy. I'm going to put a circle that goes there, and another concentric circle that goes there. And then what I can do is to add my relations or dimensions in there and make that all come into play. So let's see, if we say, let's see if it'll do that for me. I had too many things connected. So if I add a relation between this edge and that, I can tell those that they are radial, which means they share the same points, okay? And because this and those are snapped and they're concentric, it pulled everything, and now no real relations needed to be added other than those, because this over here was coincident. Okay, so you can see that was coincident with this edge, and then this arc and that arc were coincident, so I need to come in and add in some horizontal lines right there, and add in another one over here, and then I can trim the bottom part of that away. So these are gone. So I can trim out that and that. So now I'm left with an arc, and it's fully defined. And again, this resides right there in the middle, okay? And if you look in your text, you'll see that we want to take this and do an extrude boss base. It's a little bit different this time on this one. This one is a mid-plane, so we want it to go out each direction, and I don't know that it actually tells you this up in the drawing that you have in figure 628, but it tells us in the textbook that it goes out in each direction 6 for a total of 12 units. So there you go. So I changed this to mid-plane and 12. And now we've got that piece in there for us as well. It's not just a simple circle that we extrude up because it's at an angle of 20 degrees. So because we don't have that plane to draw on, we're going to choose to make a reference geometry plane. So I'm going to do reference geometry, then plane. My first click is going to be here on this plane. Then I'm going to choose to change it to an angle of 20, and it needs to know where to measure that angle from. So I'm going to choose this back corner right there. So you can see now that I have a 20-degree angle right here between the pink and the blue that goes through that green corner right there. So now I have a plane that's at 20 degrees. I'm going to green check mark that. So now from this sketch, I can go ahead on plane 2 and do my next. So now that we've got our plane 2 created, and again that's at the 20-degree angle, what we want to do is go ahead and create a sketch on that. So I'm going to highlight plane 2 and choose to do a sketch. Now if I need to change my view orientation and be normal to that plane, I can come up and choose the normal to button, and now you'll see it zooms me in to where I'm looking normal to that plane. So I can go ahead and draw in my feature, and again I want to kind of snap onto that mid plane there, onto that point, and I can go ahead and add my dimensions to that sketch. So my diameter is 30, and the distance from the U-shaped feature, which is this edge right there, back to the center point of the circle is 18. So now I've got a fully defined sketch, You can see that sketch lives up there on that plane. And now I need to do an extrude boss base, change my direction, and this time instead of typing in a distance, I can say up to next. So it'll go until it hits the next till it hits the next surface. Didn't mean to do that. Let's see, up to next. There we go. So it's going to go until it finds that. And there we go. Now you can see that it went to that next surface for us. We didn't have to do no math involved whatsoever. So the last feature that we're going to do is not going to be an extrude or a cut boss base. It's actually going to be a revolution. So if you look in detail A of the drawing, you'll see that there's a little cutout that goes kind of this way, all the way around that piece. There's a little cutout that goes through here. So what we need to be able to do to create that cutout, we need a few things. We're going to need a surface or a plane to sketch on, but then we also need to have an axis to revolve around. So that's what we're going to work on next. So we're going to create an axis through the cylinder that we just made. So we're going to go to Reference Geometry and Axis, and we're going to choose this cylindrical conical face, and then choose anywhere on that surface, and you'll see a little yellow axis shows up for us. So now we have our axis that we can revolve around, and then we need to go in and work on creating that plane so that we can draw that little U shape to be able to spin it. So the next thing we need to do is look at which plane do we want to draw in. Do we have a plane that exists already? Do we need to make a new one? Well, if you look, our very first plane that we made here in the midpoint is actually a plane that works to make that little cutout area. So I'm going to choose my plane 1 and choose to edit the sketch, and I'll go ahead and adjust my view so that I am looking normal to that. And so now I can come in on that plane 1 and draw in this little sketch that I need up here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. And as I draw, I'm going to make sure that I am using my inferences that I have. So you'll notice it highlighted orange there, so I know I'm snapping onto that. That's really important that you have those. It saves you time later on. So I'm going to come up and pop some dimensions in here, and again those dimensions are given to me in detail A of my sketch. That is 4, and then this distance there is 3 3/4. So now I've got that in place, and again those came from detail A. I can finish that sketch, and now I can do a revolved cut. So I can choose revolved cut, and it's asking me over here on the left for my axis of revolution. So there's the axis that I just made, and it goes all the way around. So then I can click there, and now you'll see that we've got a finished part on there. So not too bad. Now if you want to pretty this up a little bit and get rid of all those planes and axes that we had, you can use the hide button. So if I come over and right click on one of these, I can click the little Harry Potter glasses, and I can make some of these things go away a little bit. So if I want to make that axis hidden, I can do that. Same thing with my my planes that I have. So there's plane 1, and let's see, where's the other plane? This plane right here. I can just click on it from the feature design tree over on the left, or from the actual piece. So right click on those and choose to hide, and now we've got a finished product. So that is tutorial 2 from chapter 6, pages 616 through 625.